follow your nose.
We can begin. I'd like to call this informational public hearing to order to receive comments regarding the proposed public works facility to be built behind the Woodbridge Town Hall where the current facility is located. The legal notice was published in the New Haven Register on Thursday, May 31, 2012, and notice was mailed to residents. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. The purpose of the public meeting scheduled by the Board of Selectmen is to hear a presentation by the Public Works Building Committee for the construction of a new Public Works garage in its present location on Center Road. The Public Works Building Committee consists of 7 members. Chris Sorensen is the chair, Melvin Stoltz, Becky Damon, Dr. Gilbert Hogan, Leland Torres, Roger Harrison, and Joette Lizzie. The Building Committee has retained architects Harold Roth, Gary Kagan, and Barbara Fabiani of Moore & Kagan LLC, who will present the project. Then our Director of Finance and Operations, Tony Genovese, will make a presentation as to how the proposal will be financed and its effect on our budget. Following these presentations, you can make comments or ask questions. By way of background, the town records indicate that in 1953, an addition was added to the existing public works facility. We weren't able to determine when that original facility was built. In any event, in June 1987, the annual town meeting approved a bond issue for a variety of capital projects, including an addition to the public works facility, but no proposal was presented for the public works facility at that time. In June 1999, it was discovered that gasoline had been leaking from the gasoline tank at the Public Works facility. As a result, a third of the existing Public Works garage was demolished, including the old carriage shed, bathrooms, bay for the loader, and the foreman's office. On September 23, 2004, the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance in a joint meeting unanimously adopted a report for the space needs for vehicles and equipment, offices, lunchrooms, lockers, bathroom facilities, and a truck wash bay to be included in a new public works facility. On August 10, 2005, the Board of Selectmen appointed a building committee to develop recommendations for a public works complex and associated cost estimates, including the space need for the Public Works and Parks Department, truck wash facility sized to accommodate both the Public Works Department and the Fire Department, and such other features the committee believed to be necessary. On June 10, 2009, the Board of Selectmen revised the charge to the Building Committee to retain an architect to design a building in accordance with the space needs for the Public Works and Parks Department. The Building Committee has been working long and hard on the proposal you will hear tonight. I would like to thank all the members of the committee for their efforts, and particularly Chris Sorensen, who has chaired this committee over the years, and also Terry Gilbertson, who has coordinated the various designs and put together the proposal we will hear tonight. The Public Works Building Committee has made presentations of this proposal to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance in a joint meeting, to the Conservation Commission, to the Publicly Owned Properties Commission, to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, and also a presentation at the annual town meeting. All of us know of the excellent services the Public Works and Parks Department give to Woodbridge residents over the years. We've received many compliments about how well the roads are plowed in the winter and how well our ball fields are maintained. The facilities in which the Public Works and Parks Department employees have been working in have been substandard, to say the least. This proposal, if approved, will provide them with needed accommodations for their work. This proposal has been referred to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission by the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes. We received a letter dated May 21, 2012 from the Town Planning and Zoning Commission that this proposal was unanimously approved by the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, and that such improvements will be consistent and compatible with the recommendations found in the Town Plan for Conservation and Development. The Commission members also offered the following recommendations relative to the project. 1, the project should be designed to maximize installation where possible using sustainable design. 2, alternative pricing should be sought for the proposed roofing materials, and other materials should be considered as roofing materials. The Board of Selectmen will hear the comments of the public tonight and will, on its meeting on Wednesday, June 13, consider whether to adopt a resolution to refer to the Board of Finance a resolution appropriating $5,520,000 for a new public works facility and authorizing the issuance of $5,520,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings therefore. The Board of Finance will meet on Thursday, June 21, to consider the aforementioned resolution if it is adopted by the Board of Selectmen. A special town meeting will then be scheduled sometime in July for a vote to approve the resolution. According to our charter, a 2/3 vote is necessary to approve capital expenditures. So with that as a background, I'll now turn the meeting over to Chris Sorensen to coordinate the presentation.
I'd like to thank you, Ed, and the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance for your support. I also want to thank my committee members. We met 50+ meetings, and hopefully it'll be winding down for fewer more or less. Terry, I want to thank you for all your support. Terry Gilbertson has really helped us move along with this project here, gotten us in the right direction. Learned a lot along the way, and I feel that this proposal that we're submitting is an excellent proposal, and I think the town will be very happy with it. In those words, I'd like to have Terry come up and give a little history about this project and how we started and where we're going with it. Terry?
Thank you, Chris. As you may know, the building committee has met 50 times on this project since 2005. And to that end, they have presented this design to you, to several other, to almost every other committee that in town. And they've engaged the design professionals of Rothmore and Kagan, Jerry Kagan and Harold Roth are here today, as well as their staff, Barbara Fabiani. And we'd like to have them come forward and give the presentation that we will see that some of the other proposals that have been considered, and we'll bring you to the proposal that's in front of you today. Jerry, there's a microphone here, and there's a blue mic there that's also available.
I can yell. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight about this wonderful opportunity to do this project in Woodbridge. I'd like to start with the sign that you all know of the trucks, keep the roads clean and keep everything moving well in our town. Next slide. What we did when we first looked at this property was we analyzed the existing site. This is the town hall right here, and the building that exists that's left of it is right at this location. This is the salt shed, and then there's this driveway that goes down to the lower depths. It was basically a flat area with the gas point being right here. When we started our research, we went into a physical analysis of the property, and we analyzed what the first scheme had done. The first scheme that looked at this property had created a building at this location and talked about creating another building at this location, and in terms of a large amount of square footage in order to be constructed to do this project. There were some very major problems with this particular project. First of all, they were on the edge of the cliff, so there was a lot of underpinning that had to take place at this location. There was a lot of activity that took place in terms of soil restoration here, and a lot of activity there. And if you look at this line right here, from this point right here, when we met with the geotechnical engineer, he indicated that this was the only part of the site that had acceptable soil conditions. So this first project was not surprised when we learned that this came in at $12 million, of which $4 million approximately was under the building and in the ground. Very, very difficult to see why we were doing that. Then they hired, another engineer was hired, Mr. Couch, and he did a much better job than had been done before. He had actually moved, cut down the amount of square footage, as you can see substantially from the first slide, had worked out a much more significant way of looking at the site here and here, and he put a small addition onto the building at this location. A much better solution, but still could create some potential problems. We then went back and looked at all the boring information. And boring information is just what it says, boring information. It's looking at dirt in a hole in the ground. And when you look at the dirt in the hole in the ground, it is very clear to understand that as you move this way across the site, you get deeper and deeper in terms of the amount of fill that is there. The best part of the site is right here. And so we decided, okay, what is the easiest and least expensive way for us to build a building to meet the program that is going to use the best part of the site? And to that end, we went ahead and we created a new site plan. Our site plan said the following: if we build the building into the side of the hill, right here, where that driveway is now, that most of you have seen the cars parked, and we only put a smaller building out here, we could get all of the functions that were absolutely necessary to meet the town's needs. Not the functions that everybody wanted, but the functions that were necessary to meet the town's needs. And by putting this building into the hillside like this, we were able to accomplish something that the other schemes did not do. And that was we were able to get 2 stories, or a story and a half. Based upon the Connecticut Building Code, we're allowed to have 30% of the coverage of this building in a second story, which we did, which gave us a building and a footprint to build that is much smaller than anything was built before and proposed before, all together in one building, and a building that was much more could be more utilized for all of the needs that the town had needed to accomplish. Mr. Couch then took this site plan and he made it real. He looked at what had to happen from an engineering point of view to make the slopes work, and you can see we've done very, very little work where the big money had to be spent. We kept the gas boy where it's supposed to be. We put a truck washing bay here. We built a shelter. This is nothing more than a shed, a roof, and a couple of sidewalls with an electric plug in it, where we could store all the equipment that didn't have to be indoors. But it could be undercover. It could be locked. It could be safe. And we only had one structure right here that was going to be able to house the requirements of the town. Now let me turn it over to Harold, who's going to walk you through the way in which this particular building works.
Thank you, Jerry. This section through the building shows the concept in one drawing of building into the hillside, which is a very good way to build because we have tremendous insulation from the earth adjacent to the town hall. And we also have a bonus of a mezzanine level, which is permitted by the building code, and we have all the adjacent accessory uses up there, offices. This is the first floor plan, which consists of 10 storage bays for vehicles and 3 maintenance bays. And we've designed it so that we will build first the 4 bays that you see on the right-hand side, and the existing concrete block facility is going to remain while the first phase is under construction. So we save the town money in not having to move the facility to some temporary location, which is really very costly, which I believe is what's happening in the town of Branford now with the Public Works facility. And then on the mezzanine level, we have space for locker rooms and a break room for the department employees, storage, and also offices for the Department of Public Works. and those will be moved from various other places on the town campus, consolidating all of the office needs of the department. This plan shows the trucks and various equipment. We've been very diligent about very carefully reviewing the specific needs of equipment and the truck spaces and so on. We have also a wash bay that's off. This is again the mezzanine level, showing the various pieces of equipment that will be used. But and this section here shows the relationship with the existing town hall, and you'll be able to walk from the public parking area in an accessible path that leads directly into the office area. These are the elevations of the building. The materials are heavily insulated, 3-inch thick garage doors. The walls are in poured-in-place concrete with cowl wall, which lets light through, heavily insulated above, steel frame structure inside, and a standing seam aluminum roofing above that. This is the wash bay building, which will accommodate, when needed, all of the equipment of the fire department, and in addition to, of course, the public works vehicles. And this, Jerry will describe a walkthrough.
We're going to fly you around the building for a second and let you look into, this is the side that faces the town hall. We're going to pull the roof off right now, and you can see inside where the office space is going to be on the mezzanine. When we pull the roof off of this side of the building, you see how the open space. The building is exceedingly simple. There is nothing in there but concrete block, poured concrete, steel, structure, very, very simple building. Nothing fancy. There'll be a poured concrete floor, and there might even be, if we have the money, a heated floor in there so that the trucks can have the ice and snow melt off of them. You can see how you fly through the building. You see the quality of the space above. You see how the light will come in from the end panels, and so you get a sense of how the building would work. In essence, we're talking about a facility that would be virtually unseen from the variety of areas, maybe a little bit from the roadway far away, very little seen from the town hall, and most of it will be hidden inside the bank. I think what's really important about this is, for the first time, we'll be able to unify all of the functions of the Department of Public Works in one building. You get to see how the cowl wall will work at this location right here, the poured concrete walls at this side, and the sidewalk that leads up to the parking lot. We've even talked with the United Illuminating Company about putting an electrical plug for electric vehicles that could be charged at that location. We're talking to the Water Authority about other things and how we can make this more effective for the town. If we have the funds, we will also have our own generator to be able to, in case of an emergency, this building will always be up and operable. And let me now move on for a second, if I might. Tony, do you want to?
You're finished.
Okay, yes I am. And that's the architecture of the building.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to just take you through some of the finances of the project, including the debt of the project, and also the debt of our existing debt of the town, and how that relates to this particular project. The first is the budget of the project itself is at $6 million approximately. And there are grant funds awarded for about $370,000. That's mostly steep funds, $350,000 and an urban act of $20,000. So those are reimbursement grants. In addition, there's roughly $700,000 of remediation funds. These were funds that were awarded to the town from the gasoline spill. And so these funds were appropriated for this project back several years ago. And so the net anticipated debt for this project is $4.9 million. So for the purposes of this discussion, it's rounded up to $5 million. A few comments about the schedule. Typically what we would do in a situation like this is we would issue short-term notes at the beginning of the project. Short-term notes are interest only and are, as they would be described, short-term up to a year. And what that does is allows you to provide cash flow for the project without having to borrow the long-term debt until you have a very good idea of what you are going to need. And so therefore, most likely we will roll those notes again, and this just for illustrative purposes in terms of timing. It could certainly be when the town is ready to, I just use that as an example. So the notes, as I indicated, are interest only and converted to bonds upon substantial completion of the project. So in this case, bond payments, once they began, would be principal and interest. A couple of facts for you about the debt itself. The short-term length of the notes for this discussion is about 18 months. It would all depend on the time of construction and when the facility is substantially complete. The bond repayment term is 20 years, and the interest rate is currently around 3%. So that's currently where the interest rates are for tax-exempt bonds, which are at all-time lows, at least since I've been doing this. So the total principal for that would be $5 million. Interest on that would be $1.6 million, gives you a total indebtedness of $6.62 million. The average debt service payment over a 20-year period would be $315,000, and which over that 20-year period, the annual cost per $100,000 of assessment is $26. Okay. So what does that look like? I just thought I'd give you a graph, hopefully you can see that, of what the debt service would look like. Sometimes in the earlier years of the project, you can decide how to structure the principal payments so it best matches with your existing debt. So sometimes there's a few years where you step up into it, sometimes there isn't. And as long as we like to have 60% of the debt paid off in the first 10 years, that's sort of the benchmark that we use. I want to make a few comments about our existing proposed debt. Our current debt service is $2.65 million, and that includes the Woodbridge Country Club purchase, the fire station, open space, the library, and the 96 feature addition, amongst other items. For proposed debt, if you look at our 6-year capital plan, there are a number of items in there, including improvements of Beach Road School, police station renovations, and open space acquisition. So currently, our total town indebtedness is a little under $20 million, which is as of 6/30/2012. So that's $12.9 million in bonds and $7 million in notes for the country club. That debt does not include the Amity Regional School District debt. What I wanted to do is just show you what that looks like graphically here. This is our direct debt service payments. And the important thing to note is that the blue indicates existing debt. The red is debt under consideration in our capital plan. And the yellow is the public works facility. So you'll see that over through 2022, it's a pretty stable repayment schedule. And that's sort of what we like to accomplish here. Is there's not really too many peaks or valleys as best we can do it. For instance, you'll notice in 2016, just as an example, that's when the Beecher edition of 96 is paid off. So you'll see there's a drop in the debt service payment in that year. So this gives you an idea of debt service over the long term. The other thing that we consider when issuing debt is overlapping debt. The town is responsible for a percentage of Amity's debt. Indebtedness, this is what we call overlapping debt. It's based on the percentage of the contribution to the budget. So as our percentage changes for the Amity budget, so does our overlapping debt. Currently, our portion as of 6/30/2012 is 17.2 million. So that's our portion of the Amity debt that we're responsible for. So if you combine that with our town debt, direct debt, our direct and overlapping debt load is $37.1 million, and that's a debt service of about 1.5 million for Amity, so you add that to our portion of 2.6. So what does all this mean? Well, when we review our debt and when we monitor our debt load, we like to look at debt fiscal indicators. These are indicators of how your debt is in comparison to your community and how that debt compares with other communities. So the first thing we look at, and all these figures include Amity, is your debt as a percentage of your operating budget. So I took 2 years and I showed you what our debt was at the end of 2012 as a percentage of our operating budget, which is 9.67. Again, that includes Amity's portion. And also the 2015, which is where that graph was at its peak, is 9.43%. 10% is typically the industry standard of where you'd like to be below. And you'll see, even though the debt is increasing, the percentage goes down because the operating budget would most likely increase as well. The second fiscal indicator is debt service as a percentage of grand list. And in fiscal year 2012, ours was 2.3%. In fiscal year 15, it's 2.66%. The state average is about 2.5%. So we're somewhere around the state average there. And finally, debt per capita. In fiscal year 2012, it's 2644. And in fiscal year 15, it would be 3,056. And these, again, are some assumptions here based on where population is anticipated to grow and or not grow, as well as the budget. So I'll just give you some idea of where fiscally that brings us for some of these projects. Okay. If there's any questions?
So we'll now turn it over to the audience to make any comments or have any questions. Just speak up, stand up to the microphone, give your name and address, and tell us your thoughts.
I guess I'll start. Mentioned Getty, Brightwood Road. I joined the Board of Finance back in 1986-87. The first thing that was on my plate as a new member of the Board of Finance was the 1987 bond issue. I think the only other person who was there at that point was Ed, the Board of Selectmen. Well, the 1987 bond issue was a myriad of projects, including work at Beecher Road School. I believe, and I'm testing my memory, was to bring the water line to Beecher Road School. There was work to be done at Town Hall, major renovations at Town Hall. And also in there was Public Works Garage. The bond issue we found out after it was passed, the money was spent at the sole discretion of the first selectman, which wouldn't go over very well today in this town. But Russ Stoddard at the time had the discretion to spend the money as he saw fit. And unfortunately, the Town Hall took up a large portion of this bond issue. So in the end, there was no money left for the Public Works Garage. So 25 years later, the Public Works Garage is now less than it was in 1987 because of the gasoline spill that I referred to. They lost 2 or 3 days. And from what I understand, they now have a bathroom and a closet and a sink outside, which is deplorable in my opinion for the department we have. Anyone who questions the service they provide to us need look no further than this past year when we had the hurricane and the fluke snowstorm. The service they provided to the town was wonderful. They kept the roads clear. They always keep the roads clear in snowstorms. You hear them before the snow flies, sometimes you hear them going down for treating the roads. So we have a marvelous public works department that deserves this facility. They've been waiting 25 years for it. And one might say, what the heck happened? Why on earth didn't they have this sooner? Well, we built libraries, we built fire departments, we made renovations to Beach Road School, we bought open space. And all of these projects have a voice. They have a commission or a head who advocate for these things, and unfortunately there is no Public Works Commission. But they go about their business, they do their work, so I'd like to be the voice of the Public Works Commission, the Public Works Department, and say, this is something we have to do. As far as I'm concerned as Chairman of the Board of Finance, it's my #1 priority to do. And if anyone deserves to have a facility where they're all together instead of going to the center to get a permit and then going back across the street to get something else, they need to be in one facility. This is a marvelous proposal. It looks fantastic. And they'll be able to actually service their vehicles. And all these millions of dollars of equipment that we have will actually be inside now where it belongs, with hopefully enough money to do a heated floor. So there aren't many people here tonight, but those people who might be listening, this is something you really need to support. We have a fantastic department. They deserve this, and it's going to get my ultimate support, and I hope it gets the support of all the townspeople.
I just have a question. How do you guys plan on heating it? Do you have an option for heating floor?
It's going to be heated by gas, and it's the majority of the building is only heated to 50 degrees because that's what the trucks are going to be. The other events are going to be heated with gas, hot water furnaces that are going to blow across fans, which are going to heat the space, the big space heater. And then the office building is going to be air conditioned. The office portion will be heated there with a separate system. And the garage portion, where they're actually going to be doing the work, will be heated with the same kind of space heater that you saw, a regular furnace type of space heater with high air. And that's going to be heated from the furnace room directly over the bay itself. Should the funds be there, the reason why we want to have the ability to heat the floor is because we want to save the length of life of the trucks. What happens right now is the trucks come in with all the dirt and the soot and the frozen stuff underneath them. And in order to get those trucks going, in the morning you got to, in the middle when they're cold, you have to heat up the fluids inside the truck. I'm not a mechanic, so please forgive me for these layman's type words. So the goal of having the heated floor is that in the case of a snowstorm, in case of an emergency, the floor will provide the heating that will keep the truck underbody warm, removing all of the salts and the frozen material there, but more importantly, keeping all the liquid fluids moving within the truck so that the guys can come in, start the truck up right away and hold on. Did I explain that correctly? Thank you.
What's going on about the heated floor? We have it over at the firehouse, and it's one of the best things we've ever done, only because you're heating the entire slab. The apparatus or the vehicles inside heat up. They generate heat. It's an even heating situation, and it's what we found out at the new fire station is really economical. We've saved a ton of money on oil costs over the last 2.5, 3 years. And I mean, as the fire chief, I can honestly tell you, I wouldn't go any other way. We're putting radiant floor heating in the concrete at this time because the savings that we save just at the firehouse, so we're heating 8,000 square feet of apparatus for, is huge. So we talk about energy efficiency, we talk about saving costs. In the long term, it may cost a little bit more to actually put the tubing in the ground, but you're going to see the payback immediately. So I would strongly recommend that.
Thank you very much. One of the things I'd like to point out is when you talk about sustainable design, by putting that heated floor in, we would also have to insulate underneath the whole floor of the building. And building it into the hillside will provide us with an extremely energy efficient and very sustainable system for maintaining that building. I think the two critical factors are what you just said, sir, which was the operating cost savings, but also the fact that we prolong the life of the vehicles, which will save everybody more money in the long run.
Chuck Pine, Central Road, a design question and a finance question. Design question, where does all the melted snow go when it falls off the trucks?
It's a very good question. Thank you. We have a recirculating system. There is no water that goes off the site that is not going to an oil water separator. If we could go back to the plan, Molly, I don't know if the plan shows a trench. There is a trench that goes all the way across the whole length of the floor. And that water gets brought into a oil water separator and then goes into the, am I right, Mr. Couch, a storm? You can probably answer that question better than I. Why don't Richard answer? Richard Couch is our engineer on the site and the gentleman who's providing all of that question.
Richard Couch. There is a trench drain that runs across all of the bays. Will be in the slab is going to be pitched towards the trench drain.
In the front and back.
I believe it's in the front.
The dark black line in the front.
That black, that's right.
Oh, okay.
It's at the door. So all of the water, all of the drippings, all of the runoff will go down into the crankcase oils, will go down into the trench drain. The trench drain is then connected with piping to the outside to an oil water separator, and then that will be pumped down.
I only ask because I enjoy a free ice rink many times when snow melts in my driveway, so I'm sensitive to that. On the finance side, Tony, you showed a very interesting graph that had anticipated costs for other major projects that the town is considering.
Yes.
And my question is that, I think it was the red section, what numbers are you using to plug in to make that graph? Are they high end, low end, somewhere in the middle?
I'd say probably somewhere middle to middle high. You know, it's like,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That chart also accounts for us hanging on to the golf course and servicing the debt on that as it stands today.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Tony Anastasio, 10 Jeremy Gardley. If I heard you correct, in your final proposal, I think I heard you say you were able to meet all the town's needs, but not necessarily all the wants. Can you give me a little information on what some of those wants might have been and why they were cut other than money?
The town once originally had the truck washing day as part of, or directly adjacent to the other building. One of the wants that were in the original scheme that were done had so much storage space that you could have gotten lost in the middle of the garage if you didn't have a map how to get out. So, and it had two sets of doors so that you always had to have some kind of control on that. What we've done is we've made each one of those truck bays very efficient. Directly in front of each truck bay, underneath the canopy, the mezzanine, is where the storage occurs. And the guy brings his plow in, he can drop it, it can be right in front of him, he can unhook it. He doesn't have to go worrying about taking it over to somewhere else or putting it in a plow storage area, or he has to move it around or something like that. The other one had all kinds of fancy shops. There was the independent shop for the welding, an independent shop. We've got rid of all of that. All of the welding equipment, all of the repair stuff, even the tire repair, all of that happens under that mezzanine. So that the other, and one of the other things we've done here, which I thought was really important, is we also have a bay and a rack for the police department equipment that may have to be done in there. And we have a bay that they can service their vehicles. We also have two bays, one that has a lift that someone can lift the vehicle up, and the other has a pit. And so what we've done is we've combined a lot of these things, where in the previous scheme there were very, very fancy, a lot of space that was wasted. And this has no wasted space. Every inch of this thing is providing a space that has to be utilized for some function that has to take place in the facility. But the most important thing that I think we've done that was not accomplished in the first scheme is we have brought that whole department together with one facility that anyone can park on that lot behind the town hall and now walk down into it and get all the services that they need. Yet nobody has to cross in the path of the Public Works Department. In the previous scheme, that the first scheme was done, the truck washing bay, if you wanted, fireman wanted to come and wash it, he had to go in front of all the trucks that were being used by the Public Works Department. In the scheme that we have here, Mr. Cox was very clear about how we separated the traffic. You can close off the Public Works facility. You don't have to worry about it. You can get to the gas point. The gas point's going to have computer equipment now that's tied into a room we have on the second floor here for control. All of that kind of thing will be maintained in a much more efficient manner than it was before. So I think we've saved a lot of things by being compact.
As a quick follow-up, so all the functions and services the town wanted to provide, you feel are still being able to be provided. It's just that it's more efficient. It's not necessarily separate bays for welding, but it's all available to be done. It's just more efficient.
Okay. Also, I was going to say, you talked about different things. We were going to put all the vehicles inside, the pickup trucks and everything else. Now you notice we have a carport basically outside to put equipment outside. So it isn't all inside. We put the most important equipment inside that's going to be heated, and then from there we, made carports. So still we get the snow and the sun and the weather off of the vehicles. We do have plug-ins if we need to plug in a vehicle or stuff like that. But we still have all our, we're still managing to meet all our needs.
We only park the vehicles that need to be called out in an emergency inside the building.
Warren Lucian, 21 Orange Street. I'm basically here to lend my support to this project. I do a lot of business in town with Public Works. I am very aware of the facility they have now. I've been there quite a bit. I actually did all the paving on the addition when we did the addition. I remember how small everything was. These guys that work in there work in conditions that none of us would ever accept. You can't even imagine going to work, and this was in the beginning when the spill happened, we were doing the filling there. They had no bathroom. Then they created a bathroom. Then there was no sink. There was a sink in the hallway. I just want you to all picture in your mind what you would say to your boss if you didn't have a bathroom where you work. And we're the bosses of these guys. We're the town workers. We need to supply them with what they need. And on a second point, a heated floor. I'm very familiar with heated floors. My mechanic who does all our work has heated floors in this mechanic shop. It's much more than ice and snow. The trucks come in wet. When the trucks come in wet, it dries the trucks off. It stops the rush from happening. When the guys are working on the vehicles, they dry quickly because of the heat. The heat is very, very efficient. And another aspect you could even look into if we're doing our own oil changes, you can burn the oil from the oil changes and heat that floor very simply. It's being done right in Bethany, Connecticut, Legionnaire Services. He heats his whole building with a heated floor and he uses all old motor oil and whatever hydraulic oil, whatever he pulls out of the trucks when he services them. That's another thing down the road. But the heated floor, I believe, is a necessity. I'm in the business. I know what trucks take. I know what machines take. It's very expensive to repair equipment today. And the heated floor is only going to help the equipment last longer. When you get in that truck on January 10th and it's 10 degrees outside, the truck inside, the fluids are all going to be up to temperature. You're not going to have to drive the truck around the yard for 10 minutes to get everything functioning and flowing in the plows and the sanders. It's quite a great concept, the heated floor. It is hugely efficient, hugely, and it will pay for itself. That's basically it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Webb, Ribbon Road. I had a couple of questions. It seems to me that this is a very necessary project, and from an architectural and engineering point of view, it seems like it's a superbly designed project. It occurred to me that there might be a couple of sources of income from this building. One, I didn't know whether the truck wash would be in use all the time, and whether it might be made available for a fee to other towns that don't have something similar, or even private companies that have trucks that they want to wash. It might be a source of income in that sense. In addition, I read recently about a large solar installation going in North Haven, coincidentally on their former landfill. It was not going to be costing the town anything. The company that makes the solar panels was going to be doing quite a large installation. And I know that this roof has a western exposure, not a southern, which is ideal for solar panels. But there may be some of the ground that's not suitable for building where the landfill was formerly that might be available for solar panels. And so I hope that that would be looked into, because that could be a good source of income from this project as well.
Just have one question. What's the truck wash look like? What's entailed in it?
What's a truck wash?
The dimensions are 20 feet wide on the inside, and the length is 55 feet, so it is long enough to accommodate any of the truck equipment of the fire department. And it has overhead doors in the front and the back, so a vehicle can go in, be washed, and leave without backing out. And it's separated on the site from the main garage so that other departments of the town can flow through without interfering with the circulation, backing, and moving of the public works equipment. And a separate little rectangle there is the wash bay, and we've been talking with a number of manufacturers of equipment, trying to get the right degree of efficiency and cost for the equipment of the wash bay. And it's so placed here so that a vehicle can go in and be washed, turn around, make an arc, get gassed up, and leave without at all interfering with other work that's going on in the department. The roof is all cow wall, letting some light through. It's heavily insulated, and the space will also have the heated floor, which helps to keep it dry. And we're also looking at a pad as you leave with your vehicle that's also heated in the floor with glycol, so that you don't build up ice in the wintertime when the wash bay is used most heavily.
If I can add what Harold has said, I think that we have designed the truck bay so that it will take the largest piece of fire equipment apparatus we might have in terms of truck length, so that the 55 feet, I think, is the longest piece.
What's exactly entailed inside the bay?
We don't know that yet. That's still up in the air. We're in the process of researching. We've talked to 3 or 4 different manufacturers to date, and that's going to come out of a budgetary situation when we see what all the buildings cost and what we're going to be able to bring into that situation. So we're not quite clear yet of what's going to be done. We've looked at systems. Terry, maybe you'd like to respond to that?
Sure, we use budgetary figures presently
I think that we've asked a number of vendors for potential pricing. It's either going to be an overhead gantry that moves around the truck, and that's very expensive, or it's going to be a series of hand washing devices on either side that allows the vehicles to be hand washed. There's a difference between apparently touchless, which is the spray and the brushes. We cannot afford a brush system with a wide variety of vehicles. It's different to wash a snowplow than it is a fire truck, than a police car or a senior van. So we have some budget numbers. Those are reflected in the pricing that you see, and we're continuing to evolve this work.
What are those numbers? Do we know that? Will we have budgeted for them?
We do. We'd be very happy to give you a copy of the budget for it.
Any other? Hi, my name is Drew Bear, 47 Orchard Road. Obviously, there's been a lot of time and energy put into this, and I took the facilities the past couple of days and found out they need to be addressed. And as a new resident of the town, I would say it is abysmal, and I wouldn't want anybody working there. As a new resident of the town and a parent of 2 young children, my only concern is showing, I know there's already a fiscal constraint put into this, but how is it that we can possibly show some more fiscal constraint? It seems like a pretty elaborate plan for a small town in intents of purposes, and then there are other towns in Connecticut that have larger populations that have currently proposed and are accepting or denying similar types of facilities that are smaller and less expensive. So I implore you, just in making your decisions, possibly looking at different ways that we might be able to either reserve some of the funding and put it into other situations such as future school. And as far as the renewable energies are concerned, I think the heated floors is an unbelievable thing to do. And one woman over here made a comment about the solar. Has the solar energy been addressed or even looked at? Is it something that we can take off the grid potentially to save long-term costs to the town? And if so, what are your comments on that? Jared?
I think I can help you with that. The orientation of the garage building, which is 9 bays that correspond to our 9 snowplow rooms, and that's heated storage bays. One heated storage bay that contains the Volvo loader that we need for the salt and the sand, and the 3 mechanics bays that combines a police bay function from this building and moves it there. What that building doesn't necessarily lend itself because of its geography, aspect, relationship to solar panels on top of it. There is another building on the site that we proposed that we haven't talked about much about, and that's the truck port portion, which does have a orientation that could lead us to solar, and certainly is worthy of our attention at that point. In terms of the charge that the committee made to the present architect, we've been very anxious to have them look at our program and design only the building that is the smallest enough building that we do to satisfy what the residents rely on us for. And that's those 9 snowplow rooms. It's kind of very program driven. We consider it very fortunate that because when we got onto chose the good earth, and all of this entire program has been chosen has been driven by the fact that we need to find good soil for this project to be on. Things that were undisturbed and not problematic. And when we found that, we found it on the side of the hill which leads us to a lot of sustainable choices. We're going to have a thermal mass that we're heating up, and that's a very good sustainable design. We are able to provide easily some very sophisticated insulation measures. We're going to do a little daylight harvesting with this cattle wall. We're kind of looking forward to the potential of that. But we've taken this project from a $12 million project down to what is probably a $6 million project, and $1 million of which we have already. And we really do think that this is the smallest utilitarian building that we can survive. And so that's been a conversation consistently, and I think we made some good choices. We'll look into the solar.
Can I ask you a follow-up question? So the site proposal, if you were to include that 12 million, 4 million of that was actual site. So that would leave you 8. What are the cuts that you made between the 8 million and now the proposed 6 million that got you from point A to point B?
Size of the building.
Size of the building.
And we can see that. You'll see the first one, that's the $12 million one, and by a professional estimator. The second one, which is our Mr. Couch's design, where we were confident that we didn't want to come to you with a $12 million request, by the way. So this one was not priced, and we felt a need to apply the program to this because Mr. Couch was never asked to apply the needs of the Public Works Department to that building. And so the next one is that, and is the next slide, please. Is the present proposal is this, and this is 6,000 square feet in total, and very focused, some space on top of other space.
We're also combining a program. We're going to, presently now, you want a permit to go to the dump, you have to come to this building to see Cindy or me. If you want to see the Department of Public Works, the department chairman, you have to go to the town hall. But if you want to go down below, the guys are down below and all that. So everybody's all spaced out. We can put everything all together, which this is part of the plan. But our office is there, so all personnel is there, everybody's there every day. So if there is a problem or something that can be addressed, instead of going trying to scatter around, trying to find this person here and finding that person, makes it a lot easier. And this is part of the program that we put together as we've been doing this for 6-7 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
Not saying.
No, I understand, but I want you to understand, you've only been here for a little time, and I just want to explain that, it's a lot easier for a new resident like yourself. Oh, I gotta go to this building? Oh, I wanna go, well, maybe I should go to this building. Now you know, everybody will know to go to one building. And it'll make it a lot easier too as well. It's something to it. That people, someday, just talk to some of the employees and they'll tell you what it's like.
Okay, Sean.
Sorry, with the bay drains, they go into an oil water separator, and then once that gets full, I would assume we pump it out and discharge it. What happens with the water in the wash bay? How does that get recycled, and then how often do you have to change that out if it does get recycled, or is it just going to a holding tank which has to be pumped?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. You asked the question, so I'm with you. The water that's going to be coming from the wash bay is going to be one of salt-laden, detergent-laden, and the quantity and the need to recycle is going to be dependent upon its pollutant load and the quantity and the amount of water that's being used.
And so the type of machinery and the type of the selection of the equipment and the technique of washing is going to, in a strong part, dictate the quantity of water and the frequency of pumping out a holding tank. Ultimately, it's going to have to go into a holding tank. It has to end up in a holding tank. You can have more efficient ways to be able to recycle that polluted load, but it will end up in a holding tank to be pumped and removed from the site. But you can have very sophisticated systems that include filters that will filter out the salts and the hydrocarbons, and you can elevate the price for the pre-treatment of the water before it goes into the holding tank for recycling, but ultimately be going into a dead tank for removal off-site to a public operated treatment.
So there's two holding tanks on site. One would be for the bay floor, and the other one would be for the actual wash facility.
Don't need to have two separate ones, but they can be combined, or probably logically two separate tanks.
Sean, there's a parallel system. One is in your building, you have a trench drain. That trench drain goes into one well water separator, and that well water separator then drains into a storage tank, which when it's full, you have to pump it. Similar to this building will have a trench drain where the trucks are parked. It'll go into a well water separator, and then because of state laws, identically to yours, will go into probably a 2,000 gallon tank on site that when it's filled will have to be pumped. Separately, the wash bay will have probably a 2,000 gallon tank of recyclable water, and we'll make an effort with the equipment that we can afford to clean certainly the sediment out of it and some of the soap out of it. The rinse cycle for a truck after it's being cleaned will have to introduce some clean water. And we do believe that with the equipment that is available and affordable, that in the winter months, we anticipate to have to drain this tank and to pump this tank, or a series of tanks, at least twice because of the salt and the sediment load. In the summer, not so much. So that's the present plan with the equipment that we have looked at so far.
Any other comments or questions? If not, then before we adjourn, just to let you know, the Board of Selectmen will be meeting on Wednesday night to consider this proposal. And so I thank you all for coming, and entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you for coming.